If you would, please rise, remove any head cover. I'm going to call on Commissioner Weisenbaker for the invocation and the pledge.
Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this wonderful day. Lord, we do need some rain, and we just ask that you give us plenty of rain and help put out these fires and protect the fire people over there in Brantley County and Clinch and Eccles, Lord. Thank you for all of our many blessings. We ask that you be with us here tonight and give us strength and wisdom and patience and persistence as we deal with the issues that Lowndes County is involved in today. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weisenbaker. Do we have any folks with Leadership Lounge with us tonight? Anybody here with Leadership Lounge? If you would, please stand and be recognized. Welcome. Yeah. All right, well, we'll move right on. Commissioners, inside your packets, you'll find your minutes of the work session of April the 13th, as well as the regular session minutes from April the 14th. If there's no additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Evans. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We'll now move to agenda item 5A, and this is the adoption of the Lowndes County Resolution for Emergency Management and the Local Emergency Operation Plan. Mr. Ty, good evening.
Yeah, contrary to popular opinion, we do have a plan. And so it's here before you. Over the last year or so, we have worked to update the plan, as we discussed in detail yesterday. This updated plan more accurately reflects how we currently operate, how we're organized, and how we function during emergencies. In addition to adopting the updated plan, we're also asking the commission to adopt an updated resolution, which reaffirms the original resolution from 2004, affirming the maintenance of the emergency management and outlining roles and responsibilities for emergency management. So I'd be glad to answer any questions you have about the resolution of the plan.
Any questions for Mr. Ty?
I just say thank you for your efforts on this.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Could we have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5B is the FY 2027 Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant Application. Mr. Ty?
Yes, since 2014, we brought this application before you every year. This has become a tool for the juvenile court judge to provide in lieu of detention. And so we're requesting authorization to submit an application for the FY 27 funding to continue providing the functional family therapy services. Be glad to answer any questions you have about this grant.
Any questions from Mr. Ty? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Ms. Evans. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5C is the renewal of disaster-related debris contracts. Mr. Ty.
Yes, sir. In 2024, we issued an RFP and entered into agreements with 3 contractors for disaster debris services. We have used that contract once, unfortunately, after Helene with Ashbrook. And so this is just renewing the agreement with those three vendors. We have three to make sure that if for some reason one of them were unable to perform, they were tied up elsewhere or whatever, that we've got some backups in place. And at the commission's direction, I did ask, would they be willing to lower their prices? And they said, unfortunately, their costs have not gone down, but they are willing to hold them where they are. So there's no price increase, with this. So these prices will be the same as what we approved last year.
Okay.
Thank you for trying.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Ty?
Actually, realizing last time, I guess during Helene, we wind up getting some assistance from the state with the Corps of Engineers. Do they pay the same rate, or does this impact that any type of way? Because it was the same haulers, right?
It does not. It just so happens that the hauler we used was the same one that the Army Corps had a contract with. It's my understanding that our rates are better than what the Army Corps gets.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it actually cost more once it was cheaper for us because it was free, but the Army Corps paid more than what we paid.
Don't get much cheaper than free, though.
Yeah, it does not. And I will tell you that we had some discussions at our emergency management conference this year with GEMA, and the Army Corps is, it is their intent to engage them earlier and more often in future disasters. So we've only done that about twice since I've been in this position, but that's their intent is to make that available more often, because obviously it's an advantage to everybody. Free is an advantage to everybody, but especially the smaller rural counties.
You mentioned 3 contracts. Did we use all 3 vendors last year? Or
No,
just-
sir, we just use Ashbrit. But, Ashbrit is, like I said, they have the Army Corps, they have a lot of contracts. So the best practice is to have more than one. So if we call Ashbrit and they say, hey, all our resources are tied up, then we can go to number 2 and we're still able to provide the service.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the chairman to execute the renewal agreements with Aspert, DRC, Emergency Services, and Southern Discovery Recovery.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Weisenbaker. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5D is the consideration of procurement determination declaring the initial proposal as non-responsive and award of the contract to Coward Electric. Mr. Ty.
Yes, sir. I think I've met my quota for the year, so. So back in February, we brought before you sealed bids that were part of a request for proposal for generators for the 5 nursing home facilities in Lowndes County. The bid was awarded at that time in good faith to the lowest responsive bidder that met the requirements of Lowndes County. Once we got into the process and did a little more research, and they provided their shop drawings, it was discovered that for the price that they proposed, they were not able to meet our specifications. And so they basically declined to continue at the price they proposed. So based on that, the award was made in error since they were not upfront with their proposal. So we've worked with our finance department to make sure we're on sound footing with our local policies. We worked with GEMA to make sure we're on sound footing with GEMA and FEMA policies. And so our request is to declare that original proposal that was awarded to Current Edge Solutions is non-responsive based on the new facts, and award it to Coward Electric, who would have been the next vendor had we had all the facts and evidence at the time the original bid was made. So be glad to answer any questions. I know that's maybe a little confusing, but be glad to answer any questions you might have about the request.
And you
Any
feel-
questions for Mr. Ty?
You feel like Coward will be able to install these by the end of the year if everything goes well?
That is, yeah, obviously there are factors out of their control, but as long as the factory's able to meet the timeline they've told them, we have a great relationship, and Calvert has a great track record. So I feel confident that by the end of the year, we'll have these installed, which will be a huge, huge thing for us in future storms.
Yeah, I think you said when we first talked about it, like about 500 residents between all the facilities.
Yes, sir.
Through it or whatever, so. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Commissioners, I'll consider a motion.
Motion to approve declaring initial proposal from Current Edge Solution non-responsive and awarding the contract to Calvert Electric.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5E is the VAWA continuation grant application. Commissioners, you heard from the Solicitor General's office at the work session yesterday morning. Unless you have any particular questions, I will entertain a motion on the approval of the grant request.
I make a motion to accept the Solicitor General continuing grant award and authorize the chairman to sign all award documents.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Smith. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Weisenbaker. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain I'll take the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5F is the opioid litigation, and this is 6 remnant defendants. Ms. Bowen.
Good evening, Commissioners. As we discussed yesterday, a settlement has been reached by 6 remnant defendants to provide financial resources to combat the opioid epidemic across the United States. Special counsel has advised the county to participate in this settlement in order to receive these funds that are aimed at addressing the opioid crisis. To participate in this settlement, board approval is requested to authorize the chairman to execute the combined participation and release form.
Okay. Any questions from Ms. Bowen?
Just one, how much longer are we eligible for these funds, or can we expect to possibly receive them?
Each of the settlements have different terms over the life of them. We still have several years in the settlements that we're currently a part of, and if they keep going in the direction that they are, they'll keep releasing new settlements. So as we've seen, they keep releasing new ones every maybe 6 or so months as they are able to get things to that final stage. So I would expect to keep seeing these funds coming in for the next couple of years at least, from what we've heard so far.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Evans. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 5G is the potable well testing. Mr. Stoughton.
Yes, sir. Due to our ongoing issues with water quality at Lcboc Plantation and Stone Creek, staff along with Lovell Engineering met with Scott Ziegler, a hydrologist with Jim Steedham and Associates of Tallahassee, Florida. Mr. Ziegler brings extensive experience working with municipalities in North Florida and South Georgia on well field development and issues related to the Floridan aquifer. After reviewing the test data from our 2 wells, Mr. Ziegler recommended extensive testing that involves video and geophysical logging on the Lcboc Plantation Well 3 and the Stone Creek remote well to determine whether these wells can be put back into service. The cost of the recommended service is $43,910 per well. Staff recommends approval of the potable well testing by Jim Steedham and Associates for a total amount of $87,820.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Stoughton?
Just one, Steve. I realize we've been working with Lcboc Plantation for some time. Worst case scenario, best case scenario?
Worst case scenario is that the water and the veins do not supply good water that's able to be treated as is, and then we would have to go to nanofiltration. Best case scenario is we find a zone there that provides decent water that can be utilized with our regular treatment.
Thanks.
So this is supposed to help us figure out the depth that maybe good water is.
That is correct. Yes,
with the specialist?
yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item 6, County Manager's Report. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. There's been some questions related to what the current drought category actually means for us and where we are. Are there water restrictions that are going to be put into place where the state is concerned? So both Mr. Ty and Mr. Stalvey have been talking to their counterparts at the state on that. So I'd like to ask Mr. Stalvey to kind of give you all an update. I know that you've recently seen some things that have been put out by other local governments. As you know, the reaction to the drought categories is a call that is made at the state level. I think that with the 69 private water systems that we have here in Lowndes County, we also have concern about those wells, as well as just in the unincorporated area, those homes that have private wells. So we are certainly watching our well levels, as you well know, and then Steve's got some additional information. Steve?
So the Georgia EPD did issue the Level 1 Drought Response Declaration yesterday. This requires public water systems to implement a public information campaign. Part of this campaign is to target all commercial and residential users, not just on outdoor watering, but on being good stewards of our water resources. And some of the things that they emphasize and recommend is regularly checking for repair and repairing leaks on the outside of your home and the inside, not leaving tap water on when you're brushing your teeth or shaving or doing things like that, and then only watering your landscape when necessary and adjusting sprinklers so that they're hitting the actual yard and not the concrete drive and sidewalks and such as that. Under the Level 1 Drought Response, general landscaping watering should be done between the hours of 4 p.m. and 10 a.m. The time frame other than that, you have so much evaporation that you're not utilizing the water very well anyway. Now, there are some exceptions to that. You can irrigate a personal food garden any time of the day, and you can irrigate new and replanted plants, or turf can be done for up to 30 days any time of the day. Drip irrigation or irrigation using soaker hoses can be done anytime, and then you can do hand watering and containers that have automatic shutoffs. One thing that we can't do is go with a stronger stance than what the state allows, so we wouldn't be into the even and odd, although that would not be a bad practice to take up if residents chose to do that, but that's nothing we can enforce at this time. But I think if we just look at it and try to do these methods, we can go a long way toward conserving our water and being good stewards of that resource.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve. And Ms. Barwick has the public education component that we will begin tomorrow. Second, I know that the other topic that's been of conversation over the last week is the wildfires, what that means to our region, where Lowndes County is in assisting with the response. So I'd like to ask Chief Young to come up. He's gotten some updated numbers from forestry. He can talk about our resources, the efforts that we've gone to be a good neighbor, but also manage our local taxpayers' responsibility as well. So Chief Young.
Thank you, Ms. Dukes. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. Commissioner Weisenbaker, I want to thank you for your prayer, especially uplifting the firefighters and asking for some rain, because we need some rain. Just to give you an update real quick, just this information is from Mr. Blair Joyner. He's one of our area district managers for Georgia Forestry. The Pineland Fire, which is the Clinch-Eccles Fire, is currently at 32,541 acres at a 23% containment. And then the Highway 82 fire in Brantley is currently at 22,600 acres with 32% containment. We've had the boots on the ground with both fires since last Tuesday. Our personnel will be timing out tomorrow, and then we'll be reevaluate with Ms. Dukes if we are to send more people over. But our guys will be coming home tomorrow evening. Just to let you know, so the big concern now is talking about reburn. So the vegetation and all that was, not consumed during the original fire will start falling. And then, as y'all know, dealing with peat in the areas that these fire is in, the peat moss, that fire's sitting there smoldering, we start getting the foliage starting to fall, and then starting to have reburns. That's one of their big concerns now that they're looking at. Just to give you a brief story, we were over at the Pineland Fire on Tuesday, and to tell you the impact that our personnel, Lowndes County personnel, is having. We were able to, we were off of Register Road, which is off of Weir Ruis, in Eccles, and we were structural protection in an area. Our guys found a little puppy that had been left behind because they had done the mandatory evacuation in that area, and our guys rescued the little puppy, put him in the fire truck, and I just got a text. They're reuniting him with the owner this evening. One of our captains, Captain Joey Herndon, has put him at his home for the past few days, and they're reuniting him today. So our guys are making an impact, and just thank y'all for y'all support of what you're giving us. And I know I have heard from Mr. Jimmy Bennett, which is the fire chief of Eccles County. He is really appreciative of all that we're doing to help them. And we're getting good reports from the Brantley County Fire that our guys, they have been engaged. They're not just sitting in staging. They're using our equipment, our guys, and they'll, like I said, they'll be home this tomorrow evening. Any questions?
Are y'all using the trucks or more the brush trucks in these fires?
No, sir. Well, we received, we sent over a reserve engine.
Engine, okay.
Appreciate you.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
just pass it on to your guys, how much appreciation we have that they're over there positively look, come to me a minute.
Representing.
Representing Lowndes County and the great job, Chief, that you do and all of your staff. So we're proud of them. Just tell them, be safe, come on back home, and then, like you said, we'll reassess what we need to do, and then, 'cause we're gonna provide the services as much as we possibly can. Because fortunately, we've been able to take care of any fires that we have had here in Lowndes County, but we could be in the same boat.
Yes, sir.
And so it's important that we help our neighbors when we can and when we have the resources to do that. So again,
Well,
thank you for all that.
The brothers and sisters from North Georgia, they're starting to roll in now to give these the South Georgia firefighters a break. So
Yeah,
it's statewide. They're neighbors helping neighbors.
that's good.
Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To reiterate Chief Young's comments, we are providing primarily structural fire protection, so that's the reason for the engine. If you all remember, there are new brush trucks that are provided for in SPLOST, so Chief Young and his team are in the process now of speccing those out, so we'll have those bidding very soon. The reason that our brush trucks are not responding to either of these fires is because of their age. I'm not quite sure that we might get one over to Eccles County, but it might not make it back, and I'm not sure that we could get them to Brantley and them be any good whenever they get there. And also the reason we're coming back in now is that based on the location of those fires, they're not threatening homes as much as they were before. And so, as you know, with a long-term event, then there's an ebb and flow to what that prospective damage could be. So we're still going to be a good neighbor there. And then also, Hurricane Preparedness Week, which we could deal with a small tropical storm right now, might not be a bad idea. That is next week.
Very small.
Very small, very small. But a lot of the things that you would do to prepare your home or your business for a hurricane also relates to wildfire preparedness, as far as making sure that your vegetation and you have those clear areas around your home in the event that we should have winds. Commissioner Marshall has talked a lot about making sure that we're still able to provide for the disposal of vegetative debris, especially right now. So we have double checked with our haulers that they can pick those things up. There's a separate call for that. There's not a route currently available, and they will accept that material at the recycling centers. Also, next week is National Small Business Week. As you all know, our small businesses were here first. They will certainly be here last, and they remain the backbone of our local economy. On Monday, May the 4th at 9 a.m. at 106 South Patterson Street, which is the old Bank of America building, there will be a proclamation to celebrate our small businesses for National Small Business Week. So we hope to see you all there. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Dukes?
I just wanted to just humbly request that we ask the citizens to honor the burn ban. I know it's hard. I know it's troubling for a lot of people, but, you know, it's really getting a little rough. And I know we're talking about citations and stuff now, but Some don't quite understand the seriousness of it, you know. So.
Well, reality is that that debris pile that you have piled up, it doesn't have legs, so it's not gonna go anywhere. It'll stay right there until we do get favorable weather and we come out from underneath the burn ban, then it can be burned at that point. So we just want folks, please understand just how easily a fire can get out of, when we've had them been started with lawnmowers, all kinds of different things. So it's not just intentional setting of fires. They can be accidentally set too, but please, if you have a fire, the first thing to do is call 911, get the fire trucks, the firemen come into the scene, then you fight the fire, because if you take the time to fight the fire and then it gets out of hand, you'll find yourself in a losing battle, and by that time that resources show up, then you may have a fire that's out of hand at that point. So just, some common sense things that we as citizens should be conscientious of, and being able to work through this process until we get some wetter weather coming through. All right, we will now move into our citizens wishing to be heard. Our first citizen is Mr. Jimmy LaFiles. Please come forward and state your name and your address for the record, please, Mr. LaFiles.
Jimmy LaFiles, 3561 River Chase Drive. Thank y'all for letting me have a chance to talk. Yeah, I don't have a real prepared speech, but I just wanted to come up and reiterate my concern with the consideration of the data center. I actually live, my back property line is with the Lcboc River, and at this point in time, that part of the river is down to a little trinkle. And historically, this time of year, that river would be probably flooded. Now, I would be the only one person in the planet that didn't know we were in the middle of a huge drought. But it just, visually, it reiterates to me that, maybe we're really not doing that great a job of stewarding our resources. And then when I see the consideration for something like a data center that everybody knows is gonna need a lot of water, are we really, doing as good a job as we can be doing, how we go about making that decision? I mean, I'm not 1,000% against a data center. I'm for anything that helps Lowndes County, but I am against anything that does, has negative effects on the environment and the stewardship of our property for us and for generations to come. So I was encouraged a few weeks ago, I think I saw a publication you guys put out about some action items that you plan to take, maybe some trips to some data centers, talking to other counties, other places that have data centers, and really getting to understand what's involved there so you can do a good job making that decision. So my request would be, maybe next meeting or something, is there a chance we could get an update on where you're on those specific steps and what you plan to do?
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Microphones on at the podium.
It should be.
Yes, they are. That's because I was 8 to 10 inches from the microphone, but I can turn it up.
Okay, our next speaker is Mr. Michael Knoll. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman Slaughter and Commissioners. My name is Michael Knoll, and I live at 2305 Glendale Drive, as I've been doing for about 26 years by now. As I was listening carefully to what the individual, I'm sorry, I do not remember your name, said in terms of the fire department and all the work that's being done, it's always good to be reminded that during a time of a crisis, we all are working together. We rolled up our sleeves, and it doesn't really matter if you're Republican or Democrat or an independent. In the end, we're working together. It reminded me a little bit on the story. I'm not just making this up. I had a speech. I'm just going somewhere else with this. Just reminded me a little bit on the story when we had our second of 2 hurricanes come by, and my neighbor, who clearly is a Trumper, and I'm clearly not a Trumper, he didn't have water, I didn't have electricity. There was no discussion. He got water, I got electricity, and that was all that needed to be done in the end. When we are in a moment of crisis, we have the tendency to work together. And I love that. And it should be that way. Now, I've heard a lot of things about such things as stewardship, the drought, low water levels in the Wiflacucci and everything else. And you all know why I'm here today, because I've been here before, and others will be speaking before and after me in coming meetings as well. For a while now, we have been really coming to share our concerns about possible data center that may be moving into town. And Lone Citizens Against Data Centers, the group that I'm representing tonight, has also organized 2 different town hall meetings. The first one was with Amy Sharma, who is with Georgia for Science, and with Hannah Baker, who is actually with the Sierra Club. And the second one that just happened on April 17 was with Peter Hubbard, who is currently on the Public Service Commission, as well as Craig Hubert, who is running for a seat on the Public Service Commission. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that quite a few of you actually were at these meetings, and I hope they were instructional. I myself learned a lot. We're all in the middle of a learning curve, for that matter, as it is. I also would like to reiterate a question that actually was asked just before I came to the microphone. I truly would like to know where we are in regard to first visiting other communities and people that live directly next to data centers, what life has been after this data center moved in. We really need to know this firsthand. I myself will be traveling very soon to find that out myself, but I'm hoping that you all are taking up on the promise that you made at some point earlier this year that you were going to visit some of these places. It's really, really important. And then I'm also, again, here to reiterate the fact that regardless of where we stand at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not we have agreements or disagreements when it comes to data centers, and we certainly don't want a hyperscale data center in our community, we need to have guardrails or safeguards in place to deal with them. And there are various examples of data center ordinances that have already been developed or are being developed as we speak, and I wonder whether or not you've had access to any of those and where we are in that process. So this is the second question, basically. So 1, are you going to visit the place? If you need a location, we're happy to provide it to you. And 2, will you be working on a data center ordinance? And so there can be no question that really data centers are going to be part of modern economy. None of us are really pretending that the internet runs on magic. But we can determine how that magic unfolds and whether or not it's going to be good for our communities and for our environment. Since I already mentioned we had 2 data center town hall meetings, we're working on another town hall meeting that will probably happen in June. And at that time, when we come a little closer, we'll invite you all. We'll be covering another topic which also sort of bubbled up during the last town hall meeting on data centers. And once we have a little bit more of the details, we'll be happy to share them with you, and I can count on you on being there because it's going to be, I think, of interest to all of you. Thank you so much for hearing all of us tonight, and you have a wonderful day and stay safe.
Thank you, sir. All right, our next speaker is Ms. Susan Whaling. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Susan Whaling. I live at 2410 Georgia Avenue, 31602. So thank you for coming to the meeting on last Friday. Those of you, I saw many of you there. And it was brought up at the meeting, I think by Mr. Fisher, that the data center would basically use the same amount of water that the city of Valdosta uses in a day. So if a drought happens during the data center existence, if it proceeds, I'm wondering whether you would choose to let citizens have the water or the data center have the water. And I'm also bringing up rumors that I've heard that the data center is already in progress and that the son of one of the commissioners has already been talking air conditioning and cooling unit contract going on. I'm hearing these rumors. I just want to put them out there because I'd like them to be addressed. And also, I was just kind of, those of you that were at the data center meeting, you heard the public service commissioners mention some of the corruption with Georgia Power and that they make money off of data centers. So they're not objective participants. And so, but you named a Georgia Power representative to the South Georgia Regional Commission. That sort of feels uneasy to me. Like, it doesn't feel right. I would rather have a citizen who is not connected in any way to data centers on that regional commission. I know it's too late and I'm not allowed to choose, but lastly, there are many people in the Lowndes County group against data centers who want to know why we're not live streaming these Board of Commission meetings. The city live streams theirs. I'm wondering why we can't live stream these meetings, apart from walls, why we can't just do it, that it's easily accessible to others. And I think that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker is Kelly Jarvis. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, I'm Kelly Jarvis. I live at 3120.
Mic down, please.
I live at 3120 Stallings Road. I'll keep this brief. I want to address the lack of animal population control here. I would like to request that we have a few laws put in place, such as programs to help and show people how to trap cats to get them fixed. Mandatory spay and neuter for cats by 6 months of age, require all cat and dog breeders to obtain a pet dealer's license, and limiting the number of animals per acre as there is currently no limit. I know a gentleman that as of 3 months ago, he stated that he had 20 cats at his home. These cats go in and out as they please. He lives in a neighborhood and does not believe in fixing his cats. That number has probably already doubled by now. If he was required to get his cats fixed and only have a certain number of cats, they would not be roaming into people's yards that do not like cats or want them there, which has resulted in the death of some of his cats. We also need laws on how long an animal can be caged or crated and the size of that crate or cage. There was a dog on my road that was locked up 24/7 in a small 10 by 10 fence with a small dog house inside taking up half of that space. This was during the winter when it was in the 20s. Myself and my neighbor called animal control multiple times. Each time they told us that the dog had food, water, and a shelter, and that is all the law required. What is the point of having a dog just leave them outside to freeze? They need warmth, shade, and enough space to run around, not just lay. Overpopulation leads to overcrowded shelters, suffering, and euthanasia of unwanted animals. Spaying and neutering reduces the number of unwanted litters, which is a primary cause of pet overpopulation. By controlling the population, resources can be better allocated to care for the animals in need. And for those of you who do not like animals, help us help you by giving us the tools we need to control the population. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next speaker is Mr. George Fisher. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
I guess it's evening now. Good evening. I'm George Fisher. My address is 5278 Hall Road, Hahira, 31632.
Mr. George, would you please point that mic a little bit up at your mouth?
Okay, all right. Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I've got 30 years of experience in the petroleum industry. As a petroleum geophysicist, I was one of the ones that put the X on the map of where to drill. Not drill at the surface, but drill 15,000 feet deep, sometimes 6,000 feet deep, sometimes 2 miles from where the drill site was with directional drilling. I've been retired, but a rock guy never retires. I started studying where our water comes from. And we're part of what's known as the Upper Floridian Aquifer. It's one of the best aquifers in the United States. It extends from the bottom of South Carolina, a third through Georgia, all of Florida, a little bit of Alabama, and even some of Mississippi. It is made up of essentially 2 components, the upper and lower Ocala formations. The upper Ocala formation is a limestone, calcium carbonate, that was laid down on a very quiet, warm sea floor, made up of shells and diatoms and living creatures that turn into calcium carbonate. As you get lower, you get into more magnesium, when they call that a dolostone. This rock is characterized as being very porous and permeable, with cracks, fractures, caves, sinkholes, and water moves through it very quickly. What's interesting about Lowndes County, and I've started studying it, I'm compiling a report. If you'd like to see it sometime in the future, I'd be happy to present it. I've got slides, I've got PowerPoint presentations. I'm going to even try to bring in a core, if the officer will let me bring in a
Sir,
core.
pay your attention to here.
Okay, yeah. And our water level's down. On my phone, I've got the monitor where I look at the real-time monitoring well from the USGS right there at the Willacoochee and North Valdosta Road. What my concern is the way the water moves and the way the fractures, the way the water is directed. Underneath this reservoir is a buried graben. This is basically an extensional graben. The earth lifts up, separates, falls down, and this leads to a northeast to southwest trending line. The upcharge, where our reservoir is charged locally, is where the Cherry Creek flows into Willacoochee. And if you look on the aerial photo, you'll see 2 or 3, possibly 4 sinkholes that are there. One of these sinkholes is 72 feet deep. It actually reaches the top of the reservoir. This is where the water charges the reservoir. If you look at where these sinkholes seem to be going, they seem to me to be following this older trend, this northeast to southwest trend. What I'm telling you is I'm finding this on the data. I started looking at the reports that date back to the 40s. And it's my technique to always start with the oldest first and then move on. So I'm right now up to the 70s and early 80s. So I'm continuing this study, and I'm going to pursue it. What my concern is this data center. And when the data center comes in, who knows what it's going to do? How much water is it going to drink? How much water is it going to accept? If it accepts a lot of water, that means you have a lot of fluids moving through that's going to make the rocks it's going to bring in more debris. You're going to lose water quality if they start sucking it out there. It also has an effect on this the surface conditions. So I would expect, if we have big rains here in the next couple of weeks, I would expect to see a sinkhole somewhere along that trend. These trends are en echelon, means they're not in a straight line, they're separated like this. That's why you had the sinkhole at Snake Nation Road, back there, Shiloh Road sinkhole. I am very concerned about my neighbors. In River Chase, in the cemetery, and Foxborough, if this data center is located there, I would be very concerned about subsidence of the ground. I would also be concerned about sinkhole development. I'd be happy to come back at a later date when I've completed some more studies.
Okay.
My
Thank
time
you,
is
sir.
up.
Good evening. Move this down, I'm short. I'm Amanda Hall, 2102 North Sherwood Drive. In the handout, I've included the Brooks County and the Tift County Animal Control Ordinance that relates to tethering. When the Brooks County was putting together the ordinance, this happened right after a young mother was mauled to death by a pack of dogs. And it was very important to Sheriff Dewey and the rest of the commissioners. The number one priority was that there was a complete ban on tethering, not because it was just inhumane, but because it's dangerous. And every single commissioner was on board with it. And quite frankly, I'm a bit honestly perplexed that there's so much resistance here with the county and not wanting to move forward with it. Long-term tethering causes significant psychological harm, resulting in neurotic, anxious, and highly aggressive behavior. Research shows that chronically tethered dogs are 3 times more likely to bite. And these dogs are deprived of interaction from people, they're unsocialized, and are often fearful of unfamiliar people, especially children. And when they're confined to a tether, they do not have the ability to flee when they feel afraid or threatened. Their only perceived recourse is to bite. I've included a position statement from the USDA that was written in 1996. And they concluded 30 years ago that continuous confinement of a dog by a tether is inhumane. I can promise you one of the fastest ways to create an aggressive dog is to chronically tether it and starve him of human attention. Section 18 on the handout is from our tethering ordinance. It's sort of the last line. It says the animal is not to be tethered to a cable run for any duration or durations likely to cause physical and mental suffering. A dog that is tethered 24/7 is suffering mentally, no doubt about it. So our ordinance is completely unenforceable. And there's no disputing the fact that the majority of tethered dogs live in low-income areas of the county. These dogs are owned by people who have very little insurance, if any, that would cover victims' cost of medical care or any damages. Frankly, the victim has no recourse. Lowndes County requires swimming pools deeper than 24 inches to be enclosed by a minimum 4-foot fence with self-closing and self-latching gates. Chronically tethered dogs are just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than unfenced swimming pools. And I question the liability. What liability does the county shoulder knowing the well-established evidence between chronic tethering and aggressive behavior? When someone is bitten by a tethered dog and the county has not passed an ordinance that would prevent the bite. I know that there's concern about the financial burden of low-income people, low-income families. I priced a fence at Tractor Supply last night. So for $300, you can, which includes the $40 T-post driver, you can build a 1,200 square foot enclosure. The cost to walk into the front door of the emergency vet is $500. If you cannot afford a $300 fence, you cannot afford a dog, and you certainly can't afford the tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills when your dog mauls a child. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions, comments?
No, sir.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.